Welcome to the debate. Today we are diving deep into the architecture of the therapy clinic management system. Now, this software is designed to handle, well, pretty much every facet of clinic operations, right? From client intake and scheduling to detailed case notes. It really attempts to be an all-in-one solution for psychological and psychiatric practices.
Mm-hmm. And that comprehensive nature brings up a really core question when you analyze its structure. Is this system, with its really pervasive integration of financial reporting and operational metrics, is it inherently structured as a primary business management tool, with clinical functionality just sort of supporting that? Or is it fundamentally a clinical tool that's just supported by some necessary admin features?
Right. And that's the crux of it. I'll be arguing that these robust financial and performance management features that are baked right into THERAPIA, they're not secondary concerns at all. They are the strategic foundation. They're absolutely essential for the operational sustainability you need to support high-quality, continuous care.
Okay, I come at it from a different angle. While obviously fiscal viability is undeniable, you need the lights on, I maintain that the sheer structural prominence of quantifiable revenue, expenses, and staff performance metrics risks prioritizing, fiscal optimization and managerial oversight over the nuanced, qualitative focus that effective mental health treatment really demands. We need to look closely at what the system makes easiest to track, aggregate, and ultimately act upon.
Yeah, I see why you'd think that, but let me give you a different perspective on why that administrative and financial rigor is actually a prerequisite for hitting those clinical objectives. Look, a clinic that is bleeding money or inefficiently compensating its staff just cannot sustain its core mission. If the business fails, the clinical mission absolutely fails with it.
Sure, but is the business mission driving the structure?
Well, look at the evidence right in the data structures. Take the therapy types table. It doesn't just hold the description of the clinical service, right? It explicitly defines the financial parameters. Base price, therapist share percent, clinic share percent. Now, this deep integration means financial transparency and calculability are automated right at the point of service definition. This automation drastically reduces staff overhead, minimizes human error in billing, and directly increases staff productivity. And that saved administrative time, that is a direct investment back into the clinical environment. More time for direct patient care, scheduling, training, you name it.
That's an interesting point about automation saving time, though I would frame the architectural intent a bit differently. While I agree automation saves time, the sheer density and prominence of financial quantification throughout the entire system strongly suggests the business model is really driving the design. Consider the admin dashboard. It's the first thing management sees. What metrics are prioritized there? Revenue today and expenses this month. It's immediate financial status.
Monetary figures are straightforward sums, easy to calculate. Now contrast that with the core clinical data. You have rich, highly nuanced details in case notes, a largely unstructured content field and treatment plans, storing complex long-term primary goals and, subjective interventions. This rich, therapeutic narrative stuff is inherently less suited to high-level, real-time dashboard aggregation compared to the instant calculation of the clinic's immediate monetary status. The architecture simply makes the money metric the easiest, quickest metric to view, track, and therefore prioritize for management attention.
Okay, but I think we need to interrogate the ultimate purpose those reports serve. If a report flags operational inefficiency or maybe low-performing services, that information isn't just about money. It's fundamentally about ensuring the clinic can actually meet patient demand. The report features are there to make the clinic viable for the patient population. Take the therapist performance report, for example. It tracks total sessions, total revenue, total duration in minutes, and clients served. This data allows administrators to allocate resources effectively. If the therapy popularity report shows that, say, child psychotherapy is in massive demand, logging 5 sessions and generating substantial revenue in the example we saw, the administrator knows precisely where to invest, maybe in new staff, room renovations, or expanded scheduling. The efficiency and financial tracking are directed towards sustaining and, importantly, growing high-demand clinical care.
I'm still not quite convinced by that line of reasoning, because the core structural lens feels fundamentally fiscal. You point to session counts, yeah, but the metric that seems designed to dictate managerial action is financial performance.
But action is needed for survival.
Okay, let's look at the clinic summary report. It immediately presents total revenue and total expenses, culminating in that critical net profit figure. In the material we reviewed, that figure showed a significant loss, right? Over $22 million in the negative. That number is the architectural alarm bell. When the system displays that figure, the manager's priority shifts immediately and, forcefully to fiscal correction, cost cutting, chasing unpaid balances, maybe encouraging high-margin services. The sheer urgency of that massive negative number automatically overshadows the detailed qualitative clinical progress that's outlined in non-financial features like client assessments or medical backgrounds. The system is designed to trigger and demand immediate resolution for a financial crisis first and foremost. This is a critical technical distinction. Financial data is instantaneous. Clinical status requires subjective human interpretation, making it structurally secondary in terms of those immediate management alerts.
But fiscal health is clinical health in the long run. If the system didn't shout that financial alarm so loudly, the doors might close, rendering all those qualitative treatment plans completely irrelevant. The system needs to yell about sustainability.
It's a loud yell, though.
Okay, let's move our discussion maybe from the dashboard to the very definition of service delivery. Specifically, the integration of fees and compensation into the core clinical structures. Tying the commission rates, the therapist share percent, directly to specific therapy types. Honestly, I think that's an operational masterstroke. If individual counseling gets a 60% share and couples therapy gets 65%, that structure ensures immediate, accurate, error-free compensation based on the service rendered.
Masterstroke is strong language.
Well, think about it. This operational integration is key to enhancing staff satisfaction and trust. It removes the friction and the sheer complexity of manual payroll calculations. So the therapists can devote their focus entirely to the patients and their therapeutic modalities, whether that's CBT or ACT or whatever. Professional stability ensured by rapid, accurate payment is surely a prerequisite for focused, ethical care.
That is an incredibly utilitarian view of therapy definition. And I think it really misses the conceptual cost of this integration, this deep embedding of commission structure into the very definition of a clinical service, right there in the therapy types table alongside the clinical description and duration, fundamentally commodifies the service at its architectural root. It forces the therapeutic process to be viewed through the immediate lens of a business transaction and compensation division. The risk here is palpable, isn't it? If the system structurally defines a service by its payout structure, it opens a door for administrators to modify commission rates to favor only the most profitable forms of therapy. And that could potentially dictate clinical direction based on anticipated revenue split rather than actual patient need. This fundamentally undermines those stated goals of holistic approach and personalized care.
Okay, I think framing fast, reliable payment as mere commodification misses the critical trade-off. What's the value of eliminating payroll errors? It's massive. A high turnover clinic, because of unreliable payment, is a clinically unstable environment. The system addresses this inefficiency directly. However, let's acknowledge the tension. It is true that placing the payout structure in the service definition makes that definition susceptible to modification based on fiscal pressures. It highlights that constant battle between market demand and clinical necessity. But maybe this transparency also forces the clinic owner to be explicit about those financial motivations.
Exactly. Transparency is good, but the structural alignment, the way it's built, leans heavily toward the transactional aspect.
Fair enough.
Now, let's look at the framework for control and data access, contention 3. I agree that the system is structured with extreme care regarding security. The complex design of user roles, linking users to roles, and granular permissions via role permissions, it clearly ensures security and regulatory compliance. And the explicit is confidential flag on case notes proves the architecture actively respects professional boundaries, shielding sensitive data even from non-relevant clinic staff. Plus, the choice of being self-hosted, prioritizing data residency on the clinic's private servers, is a strong clinical ethical statement about data privacy. These protections seem baked into the system to support the clinical mission.
While the security measures are indeed robust, we have to analyze the motivation and the hierarchy that this control structure reinforces. The descriptive text we saw states the role framework is designed to achieve complete security and control for the administrator and to optimize your clinical practice management. So the core purpose of this hierarchical system appears to be management oversight. The administrator, defined as having complete control and a comprehensive overview of your clinic's performance, retains the ultimate authority. This control structure, while it ensures security, is primarily designed to facilitate ownership and monitoring. The administrator's ability to view all data, confidential or not. Well, that's not really a therapist-centric approach to data management, is it? It's inherently a business and ownership-centric approach, reinforcing managerial power over, say, clinical autonomy and operational management.
But the administrator, as the ultimate entity responsible for legal and quality assurance, must possess that overarching access. It's just the nature of the business and the liability structure in professional practice. The architecture ensures that while day-to-day operations are protected, the ultimate stewardship and accountability rests where the legal responsibility lies, which is with the clinic owner or administrator. You simply cannot run a financially solvent, legally sound practice without that centralized managerial oversight.
I agree that accountability is vital, but the point is how the system enables that control. It builds a hierarchy where the financial metrics are always visible and actionable at the top. And clinical details, even when secured, ultimately fall under that same comprehensive managerial gaze. The architecture feels explicitly optimized for administrative control and business optimization before it's optimized for autonomous clinical practice.
So, wrapping up my side, the THERAPIA system represents, I think, the necessary evolution of clinic management. It recognizes that efficient operations, enabled by robust financial reporting and automation, are really the non-negotiable foundations for sustainable, secure, and accessible psychological and psychiatric care. These strategic business features are what ultimately guarantee the longevity of the clinical service itself.
And from my perspective, the inherent bias toward the measurable, revenue, expenses, quantifiable performance on basically every dashboard suggests that while the clinical features are comprehensive, they function within an ecosystem that's primarily optimized for business growth and managerial control. The listener really has to weigh whether this high degree of fiscal transparency, while obviously useful for the business owner, ultimately aids or perhaps detracts from the delivery of sensitive human services, especially when profitability can so easily structurally dictate service definition.
What the material clearly demonstrates, I think we can agree, is the continuous structural tension that exists in modern clinical practice systems. They absolutely must serve two masters, the patient's well-being and the clinic's financial health.
Yeah, and the architecture shows us pretty clearly, I think, which master holds the immediate executive power through the sheer visibility and centrality of the financial data and the administrative control structure. There is certainly more to explore in this material regarding how technology mediates these professional relationships, but for now, we leave the listener with this necessary tension.